We'll dive straight into it. So today's topic is around scaling and completing the firm's growth path or growth plan. And there's so many facets to the growth plan. There's marketing, acquisitions, organic growth. What I want to focus on today is the services that are driving the growth. I think this is something that is kind of an underrated topic, but really, really critical. So to set a bit of context, a lot of firms tend to struggle to grow past 1 million in revenue, or we say 1 million per partner. I've met firm owners doing $4 or $5 million without any partners. But as a rule, people tend to struggle to scale past 1 million. And why is that? Most of the firm owners I work with, including the ones in my own firm historically, have been doing a lot of advisory, and we can get into what that is a bit of a catch-all term. But by advisory, I really mean high-end tax advice or business advice, really any kind of advice that's high value that only the owner can usually deliver. And I've seen firms doing a lot more than $3 or $4 million annual revenue, where the owner's still kind of glued to the seat because their biggest clients need them, and only they can deliver the services that their biggest clients value. So it can be something that stops firms from scaling past a certain point. It's also something that keeps kind of owners glued to the chair, the client manager chair in quad one, urgent and important, even after growing the firm to a considerable size. So we all want to grow at Wize. We're all about Wize. About growth. I head up Wize Growth, which is our mentoring service offering at Wize. We all want to grow, but there's different ways we can grow. As my mentor Ed Shen used to say, still does, if you've got bad things and you scale them, you'll have more bad things. Scaling something won't, automatically take something from bad to good. And likewise, if you have good things and you scale good things, you get more good things. So it doesn't matter if you're doing 300 grand and you're a sole trader, or you're doing $3 million and you've got a whole team. Today's topic is going to be helpful for you. So how do we grow? Now, we're big fans of Dr. Stephen Covey here at Wize, and he has this thing called begin with the end in mind. And it's one of the 7 habits of highly effective people, is begin with the end in mind. And what that means to this topic today is, how do we scale a firm, or how do we ensure that a firm can scale well beyond the abilities of the owner? Or another way of putting it is, how can the firm scale in a way that is easier to resource and backfill the growth in clients? Hope everyone's with me on that one. It's a really critical point. If you're growing and you have a very advisory heavy firm, very, very advisory heavy firm, you're going to find there's a very low ceiling on the capacity of your client manager, if you've got one, or yourself, in terms of growing that fee base. I was just talking to a firm about this very topic yesterday. There's probably $500,000 of revenue in the base that could easily be accessed if there wasn't so much advisory in this space that was taking up the partner's time, all the partner's time. So really critically is not just what kind of clients do we take on, but being strategic and looking at the services that we can actually backfill or resource, and really targeting the growth around that. When you're in your early days, some of you may be, or if you're not, you can remember what those were like. You tend to take on anyone and everyone. You just want to grow, right? And you have kind of what we call a scarcity mindset. Like, I don't know when the next lead's coming in. I just want to grow. I'm not going to be choosy. When you get to a certain size, or your mindset changes to an abundance mindset, you start to feel emboldened to say no to people that aren't your ideal client, right? And it's really important to determine what that ideal client is. Another way of saying ideal client, Ed's ideal client definition was simply, a client that didn't need or want to deal with Ed because he could only run about $1 million himself, and he didn't want to do that anyway, right? So it's really good to start with invert and start with what are easy services to resource, and what are the current services we're offering as a firm. And those two things might not match up. If you're heavy on advisory, like my firm was 7 years ago when I came back to start running it, if you're heavy on advisory, you're going to find it's great when you've got it, but it's very difficult to scale. And that's what we found. We just plateaued. We were doing like over $1 million in advisory, well over $1 million in advisory, and we just plateaued. And to grow that, we would have had to hire very expensive, hard to find, hard to keep managers who could continue to deliver that advisory. And it's just not a scalable model. The margins are nowhere near as good. When key staff leave, there's huge key person risk on that model. And it was very tough for us as a family business to pivot from that to something that was more scalable. But that's what we ended up doing. So what got you to $1 million isn't necessarily what's going to get you to 5 million. It's almost certainly not going to be what gets you to 5 million, right? And there may well be a pivot that's needed. So to give you some concrete takeaways on this topic, look at the services that are high demand but are easier to resource. Look at a point of difference other than I can offer advisory. If that's the point of difference, you've got a job and not a business. And even if you are doing a lot of advisory right now, be strategic and tactical about what kind of clients you want to take on. Have an ideal client. And if you do marketing, make sure you're targeting that kind of ideal client. And the ideal client should be based around a few things, but in today's topic, the ideal client should be based around a client that needs the kinds of services that you can relatively easily deliver. I hope that makes sense, right? So do a service audit of the services your firm currently offers the clients. Look at the ones that are easier to resource and that are harder to resource. And then any acquisition or marketing should be tailored around, and any future growth should be tailored around services that you can deliver and still make a decent margin on, and that are easier to backfill with more people. Another way of putting today's topic is what we're doing in 2026 in your firm is making sure your firm is scalable. I hope that makes sense. Let me know in the chat if I'm not making any sense, but we all want to grow to a certain degree. The firms I work with, we map out exactly what revenue they want to be hitting and what year they want to hit it by, right? And it's usually 2, 3, 4 times what they're doing today, sometimes more for really ambitious firms. What we then need to do is figure out, well, what's the scalable model to reach that number? What's the scalable model? And what you'll find is doing whatever you're doing now and just trying to do more of it probably won't be inherently scalable because it wasn't scalable by design. If you do this whole process and it is, that's awesome. That's great. You've got to just keep growing what you're doing. But most firms grew from 0 to 1 million or even plus 1 million because of a charismatic entrepreneurial owner who loves doing the advisory stuff. And that in and of itself is not what I would call a scalable model, right? Because there's only one owner who has those traits, and they've only got so much time in the day. A bit of IP around today. I love this bit of IP. Really, really love it. Is the monetization sheet. Not sure if Selena will be able to pop that in the chat. She should be able to find that, I think. Selena, that's the one where there's 2 tabs. I don't have it handy right now. There's 2 tabs. And one tab is a list where you can put all your clients and look at all the services you are currently offering and services you could be offering. The second tab is key to today's topic. And the second tab takes all the services you could, conceive of, an accounting practice offering, tax accounting practice offering to the clients, and then some. And it ranks the services according to several criteria. And it ranks the services according to the need, services clients need. Clients need to lodge a tax return. They don't need business coaching, right? Business coaching is quad 2. It's like a gym. you know. So it ranks it according to need for clients, because the more they need it, the easier it is to sell. It ranks it according to recurring revenue, and it ranks it according to the criteria according to how easy it is to hire people to help you deliver that service. Number one on that service, love to see if people could take a guess on what that is via the chat. I'll tell you in a minute. Have a guess at what number one is on that chat according to that criteria. And I'll come back to you in a minute. If you've already seen it, I mean, feel free to put it in the chat anyway. Good on you for having a look. But it was pretty eye-opening. My firm, we had a bit of ego. We liked being able to offer this big advisory stuff. We liked being a bit of a bigger fish in a smaller pond, so to speak. And we liked having those kinds of clients that needed those services, because it kind of made us feel good about ourselves. Oh, look how complex our clients are. Look how complex the work we're delivering is. And when I first started going through this monetization sheet process with Ed back in 2020, it was a bit of a shock that none of the services that we thought were really the bee's knees services were anywhere near the first half of this list of services. Chris Chang, mate, full marks to Chris Chang. I don't know if you cheated there or not, but you got it. That's right. Chris is right. Bookkeeping is number one. Bookkeeping is number one service. It's the easiest to find resources for. It's needed by the clients and highly valued, and it's obviously recurring. So, and it's very sticky. Yeah, good on you, Chris. That's awesome. So bookkeeping, sometimes we work with bookkeeping firms, and this is their words, not mine. They feel like a second-class citizen hanging out with tax accountants, which is so stupid, but I can see why, right? And my message to you today, if you're a bookkeeping firm, or if you're doing a lot of bookkeeping, congratulations, you've got a scalable service offering, a scalable business, right? CFO advisory obviously is not going to be at the top of that list. Anything with advisory is going to be in the second half of that list, because it's harder to resource, which means it's less easy to scale. And it's also not something that your clients, strictly speaking, need, right? So there's only one slide, isn't there? Yeah. So if you're looking at where to start with that monetization sheet. Selena can find it. She can put it in the chat in the Wize Vault. Start with ticking off all the main services that your firm offers. Not all firms can do this, but if you can, it's really good. If you've got your revenue broken down by service line item, which is not something a lot of firms do, they tend to package all the services together in their engagements. But if you've got your service by line item, even if it's just like bookkeeping and the revenue that's generating, and then the tax prep, financial statements work, and the revenue that's generating, that's a good start to see what your main services are. And then you can also plot the profitability of those services as well, because we want to make sure that the margins are good, which they are if you do bookkeeping properly. So yeah, if you want to know where to start, have a look at the services that you're currently offering. Look at the services that the owner, if you're the owner, that you're least required to deliver, and put together an ideal client based around the criteria of a scalable client being an ideal client. Yeah, very underrated topic, very underrated project. It's all quad 2. But if you find that you're struggling to scale your firm, it might not be that you're not able to generate enough leads from organic referrals or marketing. It might just be that you don't have enough time to offer the services that the clients that are coming your way are requiring. And it's going to be very expensive or difficult to find a resource to help you offer those services. What we might do, because that's pretty much it. Maybe we spend the next 10 minutes or so, Selena, if we're allowed to, because you're the boss, just discussing that topic, just to see if people resonate with it or have any questions. And then around half an hour in, we can just break that open to general questions, or you can do the breakouts. Selena, does that sound good?
I don't think she's here anymore.
Oh, she dropped out. Well,
Yeah,
then
she may have internet issues.
well, then we'll just do it. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So, because Raul and Danny are here, and I want to make sure if you've got questions relating to, Wize talent or just hiring in general and the Wize Hub, we can look at those too. But yeah, Has anyone, just on today's topic, any questions or clarifications before we get into a bit of a discussion around it? Has anyone found they've struggled? I know some firm owners actually on the call, or some firms on the call, do already have this heavy niching one or two service offering. Like Natalia, I think you're on the call. Hey, Natalia, your firm's quite narrow in the services it delivers, right? Have you found it easier to hire people in the team, not at the top, but in the team to be able to resource that?
Hi everyone. We do self-managed superannuation funds.
Yeah,
I guess it is it's easier, but at the
yeah,
same time, that's another challenge that SMSFs are so popular and the staff is in demand. The SMSF experts or professionals or seniors, they are in high demand. So it is easier because you're just looking for this one specific skill, but it's harder. It's harder because it's in demand. That's if we are talking about hiring, are you talking about hiring?
yeah. Like resourcing it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That's really interesting. That kind of makes sense, Natalia, because it's a lot of accountants don't have SMSF skills, so they are kind of in higher demand, aren't they? Um,
yeah.
I'm not sure if you've started doing this yet, but one thing Ed really encourages is putting together like training IP. Because if you only need them to be able to do one thing, Thomas, one of our other mentors, did this years ago and it worked really well. He put together like a training course because there wasn't an existing one, and he'd hire people who didn't have that exact experience and just put them through the training course. And within about, I think, what was it, 4 weeks? Danny might remember. I don't know. Within about 4 weeks, they could do that. They could do the thing,
Mm.
and he was kind of bypassing that demand because he was hiring people who people were looking over because they couldn't initially do it.
Yeah, it comes down to, who is going to do the training course. Someone has to put it together. So you first of all, you have to have a free time, or you have to say, for example, have senior manager. And
Yep,
if I ask you to put this training together, it will take you probably, a few weeks as well to do so.
yep, 100%.
And then you train these people and then they go somewhere else. So that's pros and cons. I
Yeah,
think it depends on this on size of the firm.
yeah,
If you're larger size and you're training like 10, 15 people at the same time, it's worth it. If you're training one person and you had to put 50 hours of your senior or yourself, like you have to have a look at how much you're putting out and how much you're going to get in for your time. So for us, it's not worth it.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, Thomas made like an online. He made the tests and he made the actually it's in Wize Marketplace now. You can have a look at it. It's not SMSF specific.
Mm,
He made the training course an online one that didn't require a manager to review. So it was multiple choice, and they
yeah.
had to get 100% before they went to the next module. I think there were 8 modules, and where they took like 3 or 4 goes, that feedback went through to the manager that they were just going over and over and over again. So they were slow to learn. To
Mm,
your point exactly, Natalia, he didn't want to use up all his manager's time training people who may not be there. So again, this is a lot of work, right? But again, it's building a scalable business, getting a competitive advantage over all the other people, instead of just trying to do an auction and throwing more and more money at people to get them. This was a really clever way he did it. And another thing you said, which I couldn't agree more with, Natalia, was like, yeah, it's not worth it if it's just one person. He would hire batches of five juniors, who basically had no Australian tax experience. So he was paying them like 15,000 pesos, 20,000 pesos, just whereas an SMSF wanted to be 6 times that, sure, probably. So they didn't all stay with him, and the ones that were good, he had to give raises to when they were able to get to the point where they could deliver the work because it just wasn't win-win anymore for them.
yeah,
But it was great because they got the investment and training that they wouldn't have got elsewhere. Some did stick with him, and they've turned out to be some of his best staff. So I couldn't agree more, Natalia. I think the learnings there are make it something that doesn't have to be delivered by a human, and build in redundancy, which you can afford to do when they're that cheap. You can afford to hire more than one. We had three SMSF specialists when I met Ed, and we now only have one. And when the last one was going on maternity leave, we got her to make videos, go through a regular SMSF and make videos for each step. She ended up making about 20 hours worth of videos. It's insane. And she just clicked record. She just did the thing and just talked through what she was doing. So like it was one long SMSF that we wouldn't have made money on. She made about 20 hours worth of videos. And this is back when we used Carbon. And we made like a workflow with 20 plus steps on how to process an SMSF. And again, it's like sharpening the saw. It did take a bit of time, but it was well worth it because we've got that IP now. If we ever want to do in-house training, and she has another kid, which, who knows, she probably will, right? We can go, hey, check out these videos. It hasn't changed much since she made them. But again, it's all about the IP. It's all about the IP. Creating IP is a quad 2 exercise. Creating IP that allows you to scale and have a competitive advantage over your competitors is a quad 2 activity. And sometimes you've got to slow down on growth for a month or two to reinvest in your own IP, so that you can grow a lot faster down the track. But yeah, thanks for that. It's really I just sorry to pick you up, Natalia.
No, it's
I
okay.
realized you're doing what we're doing today anyway, right? You're going just on that vertical.
Trying to.
Yeah, no, you are doing a great job. Any questions or comments on today's topic before we open it up to breakout rooms or just general conversation? Mark, I know I'll just keep picking on people. Mark, I think you're with council.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm with Council CPAs.
I think I would argue, you tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I would argue your firm's doing what I'm talking about today.
Yeah, you are correct. We provide like full accounting services for law firms plus like tax services.
Yeah.
So accounting services, you're right, it is more scalable, and we try to I think we are like working with mid-size and small and mid-size law firms.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's right. Bookkeeping, accounting services, that's like recurring work, and you are trying to scale that work and do more, like to be involved in more advisory, KPI report, and like CFO services.
Yeah.
But finding right talent and keeping the talent and investing there and training these people is really critical, and it is challenging now. But hopefully, after like those trainings and the time and like recurring work, it is gonna be easier going forward.
Yeah, totally. I think the discipline required as well. Like I work closely with Emil, who works with Mark, the founder of council. The discipline required and focus just to say no to other kinds of clients. I know you tend to do pretty well with that niche, so it's probably easier now. But I think a few years back, he really consolidated, Mark, from what I'm understanding of working with him, he really consolidated and just focused on that niche and on those 2 or 3 services, didn't he? So
you need to earn that. It is not from the beginning. It's gonna be like challenging. You need to get to that point that like you have your steady clients and you are covering your expenses. Then you start like concentrating more on your niche and getting more professional on that, like in that area, and that's gonna be like when like your clients, they see like about them, basically about their industry more than sometimes they do.
100%, 100%. I mean, it goes very quickly. We're looking at the scalability part of it today, but it does go very quickly from what Mark was saying to the niche firms I've worked with have been able to charge a premium because there is a point of difference from a marketing perspective, and you're seen as an expert in the area. And of all the marketing we do at my own firm, the niche marketing has the highest conversion rate by far. They basically, you could put the most lousy salesperson in front of these leads, and they already want to do business with us because they think that we are, but they think that we're an expert in their kind of area. So it's easier to convert. It's easier to charge above market rates, because the point of difference isn't price. If you don't give anything to differentiate your customers on, they will differentiate. They'll always pivot to price. So we always say you're not too cheap or too expensive. You just don't have a point of difference. So yeah, in terms of the marketing, obviously it's also really, really helpful to have this niche that really means that you have a niche service offering as well. But yeah, every which way, it just makes sense, doesn't it? That's another whole topic for another day. But yeah, it's the proof's in the pudding. I'm privileged to work closely with some of the firms on the call today, and it's amazing to see some of the numbers they can pull, because they're getting the stuff right early on.
This is so interesting that this stuff that we are talking about, this is like on the only like a side note, that before like joining to Cancer CPA, I was part of like Australian company, and I was a partner there. And I visited like last August to Sydney, and I loved everything, and culture and everything. So we were talking about this like there, and like we were doing like basically this same concept and everything, like trying. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's awesome. I'm from Sydney. I'm in Sydney right now. Nice. And you're based in LA, aren't you? Or
Yeah. I'm based in LA. So the company is public accounting company in Australia. So they're expanding in US.
Wow, mate, awesome. Well, yeah, you're one of the few people who've already been here. I don't think Emil's been to Sydney yet, so we'll have to get him to come down.
Yeah, I can take him there, and I already I know where to go, what to eat, what to see.
Yeah. Oh, good on you, Mark.
Yeah.
How are we going for time? It's about 9:30 now. Any final questions or comments on today's topic? Anybody? No. Okay, too easy. Well, thanks all for listening. Hope it's been thought-provoking. Selena, are we going to break out into breakout rooms?
Yeah, we can go to breakout rooms.
Just a reminder, guys, it doesn't hurt any of our feelings. I can speak for everyone. Hop into a breakout room, ask your question, and then if you've got a question for one of the other breakouts, hop out of it and then go into that one. We really don't mind people jumping from room to room. Like a lot of firms I work with have Wize Hub questions. Raul's here right now. He will be able to help you. And if so yeah, make the most of our time. That's why we have someone from recruitment, the software, and the coaching company all on the call. So you can really just do a round robin. But otherwise, we'll come back at like 5 minutes to the hour just to wrap up. So see you guys all in a breakout. Bring your questions. Make the most of this time.
Yeah, you're still on mute.
You put me on mute. Oh, because you come out of the room.
Yeah.
Everyone, I hope you all had a great session with some really interesting detailed topics today in my breakout, and I love getting into the detail. Just a couple of resources from today's topic. 8.6 is broadly about the business plan and growth strategy. We were really focusing in today on how service, being disciplined and focused when it comes to service plans, fits into that growth strategy. But there's so many other aspects to it. Like we said, there's marketing, there's niching, acquisitions. So hop in to the Wize Vault and have a look at that. And there's a Wizer mentor now. Not wiser than us. I think it's just a nickname. He or she is in the Wize hub. So really great way to find resources that you're struggling to find otherwise, and just ask general questions. This AI is custom trained on over 300 hours, anonymized, and dozens and dozens and dozens of articles and transcripts and posts. So it's a very good resource. Us mentors use it frequently, and it's a great place to start if you're looking to go further on any given topic. And there are articles being published, I think weekly or fortnightly, in the Wize Hub Knowledge Center as well, because that just keeps growing and growing and growing in terms of functions and usefulness. So if anyone here is not doing Wize Growth or has never done a GPS, which is our 2-month business plan, feel free to reach out to Selena, and she'll put you in touch with Christy, and she can take you through, what this business plan is all about. And then if you're struggling with hiring onshore, offshore, wherever it may be, whichever kind of staff you think you need, have a complimentary one-on-one strategy call with Danny, who's joining with us today, and the booking link's in there. Danny's on fire with her team. They're hiring more and more people every month. And yeah, you shouldn't go anywhere elsewhere if you're thinking about hiring. Yeah, reach out to Selena if you've got any general questions. Our next topic is on hiring, and I believe that Danny will be presenting that one, and it's on writing job ads that attract the right candidates, not just more applicants. So yeah, filtering through to the right people. That is a great topic, So come along to that. Same time, same place next week, 9 a.m. Tuesday, 10th of March, Sydney time, but it's probably 9th of March afternoon for the Northern Hemisphere folks on the call. Thanks so much for attending, guys. Love seeing you guys here. Love getting to come in every now and then and host. See you guys at the next one.